Hello everyone, welcome to AI's video. The COVID-19 pandemic is reshaping the way consumers shop. The take-up of digital transaction is soaring. Ecosystems are moving swiftly, be it for the B2C or the B2B arena. They're looking at capitalizing on the familiar environment that a user shopper is used to and promising a fast and secure payment experience. We have seen an initiative by Facebook or WhatsApp in Brazil. Amazon Pay is making moves in Europe in the B2B side. B2B packs related to payments are also pointing the same. The other packs, fintech companies are recruiting employees in various markets. So considering the evolution of payments, are we looking at the dawn of a new era? To discuss the same, I have with me Rodrigo Sánchez Prandi, who is VP Product, dLocal. The company enables merchants to eliminate complexity and paves way for payments expansion. Hello, Rodrigo. How are you doing?
Hi, Ritesh. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
Pleasure. Rodrigo, firstly, what do you make of the moves by ecosystem considering the way digital transactions are shaping up? What's your take on what's being done by Facebook and others at the moment?
I think first of all, I think it's the right move, right? So these are platforms, Facebook, you have Amazon, Uber. Last year, they launched their Uber Money solution. So basically, they are moving ahead on their ecosystem. You could say that Amazon maybe would be the easy path, the way that they already have the purchase. Let's add the payment infrastructure also there with their users. Facebook, it's a little bit outside the realm right now, but it's basically generating that ecosystem that you see, for example, in China, basically with WeChat and Ali. Basically, they are kind of replicating those models. And you see, you have the customer base, you are already controlling their UX, their user experience within the platform. You're controlling their checkout experience. Now you're getting also on the payment space to control that side also. And for them, it's not important on that side in terms of controlling their entire ecosystem, but also getting into the user's wallet, because the big play here is data. So if you get into your user's wallet, you can see how they live. You can interact with them. You can see their spending that replicates their daily lives. So it's would make a huge play in terms of getting new data, getting better in terms of Facebook, in terms of Amazon, better ad targeting and expanding. So basically getting more share of wallet, getting out there for Uber, for example, just not using and thinking about Uber as the ride-sharing solution, thinking ahead a little bit into Uber Eats and into other sides of their daily lives, just to think of Uber as a payment method and not just as an app for getting from point A to point B. So it's really interesting how they are moving forward, how they are taking payments as a key component of this path. And it's gonna be really from our side, from the dLocal side, that we focus on emerging markets to see how they are expanding into these markets, how they are presenting themselves in some markets that infrastructure is still a bit behind from US and Europe, but it will be nice to see how they play against local ecosystems, local players, and how would that evolve in the next months and years. You see now Facebook launching in Brazil with WhatsApp. I think it's gonna disrupt the market. It's gonna make things change in terms of P2P payments, B2C hopefully also. Yeah, it's exciting times in that sense, I would say.
Is Facebook going to facilitate travel-related payments through WhatsApp in the initial stages?
I believe, I really don't know their plans. I know that from what they had launched on Monday and the information that they gave, they are focusing a lot in P2P and focusing for local merchants, local players that they want to start receiving payments from their users through WhatsApp, which is used by more than 100 million people in Brazil. We see right now, I think I see more on the SMB side for now, because it's more in a one-to-one interaction with the users and basically handling their usual business that, because of the pandemic and everything, got to move to the online channel. But I see it as ubiquitous as anything, because if it gets traction, if it gains traction, if you have users using WhatsApp payments for P2P and sending money to one another, I think it's gonna become as easy as paying with a card. The other thing right now that I would think it's a little bit hard, it's kind of the pricing structure that we are seeing, that maybe it's a little bit high for travel, but let's see how it evolves. I think they are aiming at different sectors and verticals, and now they are just in a running out phase. Let's see how it behaves in the next months.
So is there any limit on the transaction which can be done through WhatsApp? If I'm doing shopping through WhatsApp, paying through WhatsApp?
Yeah, so I think now they are putting some limits. I would say that those limits will get out of the ecosystem because basically because if it becomes a true payment experience, I think that's the right thing to do. But yeah, let's see. It's kind of a big question mark how it will evolve. I would say that Facebook has the answer on this. And I think they're gonna test the waters and see how the market evolves in terms of using WhatsApp. I think it's a massive disruption in Brazilian market. It can be a huge player in the foreseen future. And after this, I would say with the upcoming PIX system in Brazil, similar to what happened in India with UPI and everything that will come in November, that's gonna be another game changer. And combining that with WhatsApp payment can be a killer, a great play for Facebook.
dLocal has presence in China. I'm going to ask you about the user curve of certain ecosystems in markets like China, where Meituan is a super app. In Singapore, we have Grab, which is a super app, and Gojek also in Southeast Asia. These apps are already being used for different verticals. So do you think by the time this pandemic is over, a new pattern of buying and paying would be established for certain markets?
For sure. So I think, and as you said, you are having these super apps, and one thing that these apps have is one, they are moving to different aspects of the users. So basically controlling different verticals for their user and making their lives easier. And the other key thing is that they are regionalized or localized for one country or one region specifically. So we are seeing these players popping up across the different regions. And one important thing, if you are thinking of going international, becoming really optimizing your payments experience in all the regions and everything, it's really important to have to work with these players. We are seeing in, as you said, you have Gojek, you have Grab. In Latin America, we are seeing different wallets and apps coming forward for specific markets. I would say Brazil, Mexico are the largest markets in the region, but also you are seeing spreading other apps that are trying to regionalize the continent, and they will become, I think, ubiquitous, and they will get a large share of payments. We are seeing now the shift from physical payments due to this COVID situation towards digital channels. Merchants are sometimes they are struggling, sometimes they start shifting more easily towards digital, and it's something that I think card schemes are also moving in this direction. You have network organizations that are basically an SRC that basically are moving to the wallet ecosystem. If you think about this, going from physical to digital, and now it's a matter of see who wins or which players have the largest market share and how the regulators also come into play, because that is going to be a huge part, especially China, India, Brazil, Indonesia, where you have large populations, where you have really interest from the merchants coming forward to these countries, and you have a strong presence of the central banks that really mandate how this ecosystem will play out. So it's really important to see how also the regulators will play with these wallets and these new digital payments coming forward.
Rodrigo, these ecosystems or the market-specific players have substantial downloads already. We are already looking at how consumers want to have touch-free interactions as well as transactions. What do you make of the authentication methods which are being used by all these players to ensure that the customer feels secure and their tendency to use these apps for payments or transaction is going to be higher by the time pandemic is over? So my question is how they are looking at streamlining the whole authentication process and to cover up all the emotional and transactional needs of the consumers.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how this will evolve, because you not only have the regulations, for example, in Europe with SCA and PSD2 coming along, but also having all these wallets play in the market makes that you are shifting from cards to apps. And in that sense, you are seeing that personalization of these authentication systems. So for cards, 3DS 2.0 and how everything will evolve with biometrics and everything, you are seeing many wallets just playing around with your PIN, your only PIN that can help you transact and can help you secure your payments on an easy way. And in terms, if you think about, okay, PIN is kind of the starter, then if you think about biometrics, now we are seeing, of course, fingerprint, facial recognition. I think now it's getting to a question mark how much will evolve, mainly because the situation that we are seeing, for example, in the US, with all what's happening in terms of the protests and everything. You've seen different companies that are pushing back a little bit on their facial recognition developments. So it's something that may seem coming from another different topic, but basically it's impacting the research and development on that side. So I would say fingerprint, of course, it's coming forward. And one thing that we were also looking into last year and everything is voice recognition. That's something that with all the home devices and everything that are still gaining traction, and now more with people staying at home with lockdowns and everything all over the world, you are seeing home assistants coming further on the user's home. And that basically makes voice recognition can start getting more traction and getting more sophisticated to basically be an actual authentication device for payments.
What about the physical touch points during a travel? It could be airport, it could be interaction with the flight attendant, it could be the local experience or paying for a cab or a car hailing service. How can we expect the touch-free or contactless payments to move along the whole travel journey? Do you see some kind of interactions between different players, including ecosystems, to facilitate payments at different points of travel? Some new methods coming along?
Yeah, I think what we have now, so basically, mobile penetration is it's really high. So basically, everyone has their own device, and I think we are gonna see many plays on that side in the travel space, basically using your device as your touch point, if you like, with all the systems that you can interact with. So basically, you are making that barrier between you and your device and the external agent. I think we're gonna see new flows and new ways to interact that way. It's really interesting because I think kind of it's, I would say, the small silver lining that we can see on all of this, what's happening. You see how everything is evolving on the digital side. All companies are moving on that in those aspects, whether they want it or not, and it's making that push for creating new digital experiences and thinking about basically the true concerns that people have in terms of how they want to interact with another person, that it's totally valid. So giving the users that ease of mind to say, okay, you can make that the checking, you can increasing the way to, I know, even give your wallet to at the airport, or going through the checkpoints and everything, using an entirely contactless system and solution will give the users that security and that confidence to go through and to de-risk travel as an industry that has been hit really hard by this pandemic.
Lastly, Rodrigo, there are multiple stakeholders in one transaction that takes place. A lot goes behind when a transaction is going through, right from merchants, processors, acquirers, card schemes, issuers. What role do you foresee fintech companies playing in the next few months?
So I think we always talk about disruption, but in that sense, I think it's true in a way that we are seeing a new wave of players that were not thinking digital, and now they are coming along. So basically, there are new opportunities that are coming, especially in SMB sector, where you have people that were still pushing this digitalization forward because they didn't have a need before. So there is a large segment there that has been tapped in the past, such as with loans, with financial instruments, but now it kind of exploded. It went kind of from 1x to 10x, and you were gonna see many companies trying to leverage this in terms of giving more financial instruments to these clients and these merchants, and on their way, how they can reach out to all these companies in a true innovative way. And as I said, now governments are also thinking really hard about this, how everything is evolving towards this side, that basically it gives them I would say the easiness of having everything digital, so it's easier to control in a way, but also to see how everything will disrupt the current status. So it's at least from the local side, what we try to use, we try to understand government and regulation, where they are moving towards to, what are their place in terms of how they are seeing also their future. So basically for Brazil, for Mexico, for India, for Nigeria, South Africa, how they are seeing things moving forward, in a sense that you are having these newcomers that want to bring new solutions to underserved clients, but in a way that it doesn't conflict with the regulator's goals. So basically, if they combine themselves, you can see them potentially grow in an exponential way. And it's really interesting. You are seeing this popping up, these new laws and these new regulations because of this, and how fintechs are maintenance complying with this and using this for bringing new solutions to this underserved customer base. And yeah, I think that's kind of the good thing of this, how these digital changes are here to stay, and they are pushing forward the digitalization and the payment solution that we have been seeing the past 3 years, how everything in the next 3-4 months will change and will remain digital.
So considering the digital changes, is it right to say that a new era is about to begin for payments?
Say for sure. And I think especially in markets that were not as digitalized as the US, as Europe, and they are making those changes, and it's gonna be really interesting to play our part in this payment ecosystem now.
Yeah, because dLocal, when it was established, the entity, it mentioned that it intends to bridge the payments innovation gap between the well-established markets and the emerging economies. And I think this is really offering a company like dLocal an opportunity to bridge that gap.
Yeah, so you're thinking about three years ago about this, and still working with cash, how we could make a user go to a local store and pay with cash, how we could digitize that for a merchant in the US to have a digital payment on that. And now you are seeing all these innovations coming from these markets and basically teaching these merchants coming from the US and Europe how WeChat Pay, how Alipay work, how UPI works in India. So it's really interesting how somehow tables are turning a little bit, and now merchants need to catch up to these innovations that are coming in this market. So it's really interesting, and I'm sure that more innovations will come through, and hopefully we are there to still adding our value layer to make all those connections happen.
Great. Thanks, Rodrigo, for your time.
Thank you very much, Ritesh. Always a pleasure.